within 6 years. Interest rate initially was 5.4%. Now, when they did the refinance last year, interest rate is now 10.35%. So you see that, and you must pay it within 5 years. The interest rates for the sovereign bonds, because they are given by commercial banks looking for profits, are very onerous and they are very hard. The bilateral terms, where there are concessions, you may be told even grace period, you are given a long period, even 10 years, repayment period, even 20 years, interest rate 2%. Then we have domestic, as number 3, domestic debt. This is now the new elephant competing line to line with the sovereign bonds. Domestic 17% interest rate. The moment you start taking loans at the domestic market at 17% interest, in a shrinking economy where the interest rate is 25%, that is immediately an unperforming loan. You'll never pay it. And why are the interest rates so high with our banks? It's because they prefer to lend to government and they don't want to lend to you. But the oxymoron in all of this is that these banks don't print money. Whose money are they lending to the Kenya government? It is your money. It is the Kenyan people who deposit in those banks. It is the government and its agencies that deposit money in those banks. So government takes your money, banks take your money, take it to your government and lend it. Lend to it. That even part of it was that same government's money that was deposited. And the classical case was the housing levy. When the housing PS Singer said, we have taken 40 billion to buy treasury bonds, government has collected money and there are 40 billion. They've raised their taxes to raise housing levy. There are 40 billion that they've decided they are going to the banks to buy treasury bonds. Buy from who? From the same government. Then ask you to pay higher interest rate. So understand, why is this happening? Very simple. The private banks, when they charge you 17% interest rate, they are private banks, private entities. They are not susceptible to the same audits that government agency will be. So this 17% interest rate, I am sure somewhere along the way, the bank maybe retains only 5% interest rate. 12% interest rate of the interest rate is shared by cartels in government and the political establishment. But who pays for it? You, taxpayer. So domestic lending shouldn't be there. And if you ask even the banks here locally, tell me you've taken this treasury bill or bond. Tell me which project it is funding. According to our books, we owe you 5.4 trillion today. Show me which project you are funding when you floated this bond. Did not show you. So why should we pay it? Show me the parliamentary approval. Here are the Appropriations Act passed by the Parliament of Kenya in the last 10 years, now 12 years. Show me where the Kenyan people said we are going to borrow $200 billion from the domestic market. Normally very favorable. So we can still access the market. But what, for example, is our model that is different? And to pick, for example, JKI. William wrote JKI and he wanted to build, to improve it. What will stop us from saying our funding model will be, we don't have the money in our books. We are going to float an infrastructure bond to the people of Kenya. And in between also float a diaspora bond. We need 50 billion shillings for JKI upgrade, or we need 100 billion. Ask the people of Kenya to go to the stock exchange to buy that bond. Ask Kenyans in the diaspora, who are one of the largest contributors of Forex, to buy a diaspora bond to improve JKI. JKI will never make a loss. JKI, anybody who works in there pays money. For as long as flights are taking off, it will never make a loss. So a diasporan will say, I have my little $200,000 here, let me buy this bond. But in the process, you end up owning a national asset if you don't give them an opportunity. So there are so many funding models that you can pursue that brings Kenyans onto the table. Raise an energy bond and buy part fractional ownership of that energy system. People are working all over the world. People are projects. So they are normally paid monthly dividends in advance. They are earning. They understand these people. Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to become an empire. He was really a dynasty. His intention was to crash the economy. Then he's the only person with money. When you are crashed, now you need to acquire excess service. Is there. William Ruto is trying to become a dynasty and an emperor at the same time. So he prefers a development model that is camouflaged as foreigners coming in, but somewhere along the way, he's the one with the fractional ownership, not the people of Kenya. And that is why, in fact, let me tie to the question that was asked by Rose, the collaboration, whether we are. If somebody believes in the existing model, why should Safina Party be part of that coalition? Because as we believe, our development should be people-driven, not government. Government should just be a facilitator. What is the barrier that is hindering the people to grow economically? We remove that barrier as government, but allow the individual to grow. But if somebody believes that it should be government that comes and says to Metenga 10 billion, to Metenga 500, to Metenga, it can't. That will be a coalition of convenience. We will now be selfish leaders. We will not be pursuing economic growth of the nation. We'll be pursuing our own personal individual aggrandizements. So coalitions, just for the sake of winning elections, I don't think I will be part of it. I don't even think my party leader will be part of it. Coalitions should be about the ideology that is shared, that we are all taking a commitment that our government is about the people, and genuinely so, not for purposes of winning an election. Of what need is it to win an election when the people you are going to lead over are dying because of lack of opportunities? And the final question was about the Azimio coalition from Rose. What can we do to send the electoral system? Very simple. Minor KI. The minor KI case settles our election system. And our vote at the polling station is final. And the relaying of results and declarations made at the constituency levels will sort out all the problems. For as long as we still maintain boomers, we will not succeed. Because I have worked on elections in Kenya now for almost 15 years, and I've done elections across the continent. I can tell you, in terms of laws, in terms of regulations, we have it all. What we don't have is the accountability mechanisms for that election. So work on the accountability mechanisms. And the easiest mechanism is break down elections to be done at the constituency level. Apply minor KI case so that every constituency will declare the results. And if there's any dispute, that dispute should be done at the constituency level. Thank you very much, Hilary.
Thank you so much, Wakili. Appreciate that. I want to go in this order. As you drink water a little bit again, Wakili, I want to go this order. I want to go to. I've seen academia dropped. Okay. Duncan, Daktari, Senator Ken Babu, then Nyaga, Josephine, Ronyo, in that order, and Ujo Wangeshi, for us to again come, we bring other people on top because there's so many requests that we have, and we really appreciate you guys for your patience. We have so many requests.
Of issues of abductions. Recently, we saw Inspector General Kanja saying that though we explain to the public, if the guys who are conducting abductions are not police officers, more cases of abductions. Today, any charges against him, then that puts the normal what will happen to the families of Akina Muteti? What will happen? IG denied, and the Interior Cabinet Secretary has not communicated anything that is convincing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for convening us yet again, and to all the speakers, Wakili Willis, for always eloquently prosecuting the issues that are affecting us as a country. I But as we look towards change, we are going to be able to turn around this situation. The verge of seeing a second public university being shut down, just like we saw Moi University shut down. That just tells us what state of a nation we are working with. But those issues will class. But then there's a section of the population that seems to be doing very well and making a lot of money, and that is the political class. We have also seen it seems there's a lot of cash flow there. Even you mentioned during the public participation for the impeachment of Rigiji that a lot of money was flowing. And at what point does it get out of the financial system into the hands of the politicians? Of course, we have had, and I have had this conversation with my colleague, Senator Okiya Omtata, that I work closely with, that on cash and make its way to the hands of politicians. And I have had my friend So just want to get Willis's insights on this. At what point, where is this money that seems to be so easily available in the hands of the system into the hands of the politicians? Is it before or is it after is it part of the before it got into the consolidated fund of the country? And then maybe finally, we have seen politicians to office, then we will assume that no, let us not pursue, let us not think about people who are committing peace, and then we forget about the injustices that have been committed in the past in the form of handshakes and in this country out of the mess in which we are. Then we are sure, or we can be sure that these are people who are not going to turn against us in the new hands to be able to run. So I don't know what it looks like. from
Thank you so much, Aktari. Thank you for those questions. Yeah. Who was next? Time.
But now we have heard clearly, because when politicians speak, they don't just speak; they speak to test the water on the ground. When Sudis and country. So my big question is, because I see that currently what they're trying to do is, because the parliament and all these other arms, except the judiciary, and we have seen somebody, the chief justice. So my question to Willis is, what is your take on this issue, where probably they think the only way that whoever the only institution that is going to stand between them and the next election is the judiciary. Be blessed.
Thank you so much, Ronyo. NK, go ahead. NK, Nyaga. So here.
Crazy violence here from Kenkuma Brass still remains unsolved. We had Dennis Juma, who was gunned down during the 25th June occupation across the country. And recently we had Billy Mwangi. The party, but she has been quiet all along. We only had her during Kanjakoma Brothers, where she promised swift resolution of the same, but it was campaign is denied. How can we speed up the process of first getting and the party itself has denied? We've had certain leaders talked about a critical mass of 2.3. Why? Talked about a critical mass of 2.3. Why to even get the whole Rift Valley?
With that, tells us hurriedly President Ruto and his MPs, they will have extended their term automatic without our consent and without making it possible for Kenyans to carry out an election. However, I'm calling fellow Kenyans, we stand out boldly and very strong to make sure that we fasten our belts and we show that despite that, Ruto is trying to deny education to our nation. We are currently learned and we have what it takes for us to work against his clock, because the plans they have, it's very clear, and God has been faithful, fellow Kenyans, to us. Actually, the game he was playing to Kenyans, he wanted us to feel that when he's taking bribes to the churches, we will feel devastated, and we are not going to trust the churches again. So we will not be having any place where you can hold on to your faith, so that now you live under fear. But that has failed, because God is not a respecter of any man. Now, fellow Kenyans, a time has come. If the IEBC is not constituted by end of March, can we get out and make Ruto leave our nation once and for all, without allowing him any more position to continue actually purporting whatever he's purporting with his team? Or is Oscar Sudi to come out and tell us Ruto will be going nowhere? This country is not ours. Does the country belong to him? Fellow Kenyans, we've seen Kipchumba Murkomen come out clearly and categorically telling us that we are protecting young people who are putting people in caskets. Yet, the question is, how good is he if he can go out and do an abduction while he's telling us there is a rule of law which is supposed to be followed? Can we stand out and get to know that it's very clear and very categorical? We are very much aware that the government is the one actually abducting the people, because already Kipchumba has just brought it out. Can we stand out? And also, Mr. Willis Raburu, kindly tell us, what can we do so that as early as tomorrow morning, actually we stop paying one Far Mohammed for insulting us as Kenyans? I will take what it means for me to go out there and make sure that we are in the corridors of justice to make sure that we stop the salary of one Far Mohammed for insulting us as Kenyans. We cannot elect you,
Thank you.
pay us with our money, and you insult us. That was very bad of us. Yeah, now it's calling upon Justice Muturi to go and record statement and go to his reporting and his press release. Why are they calling Muturi? Yet we have other children who have already disappeared, and they've not even told the parents to do the same. What are they doing to us? Fellow Kenyans, I'm just landing. With all humility, I'm calling upon all of us. Can we tighten our belts? Can we stand out and now prepare how we want our country to be run, how we want to be led? And whoever cannot adhere to that, let them pack and go. This country is ours, belongs to all of us. Hakuna mtu alisongewa, sisi zote tumezaliwa hapa, and this is our nation. We have to stand for what it means for us to have a better nation and to have a country that can observe the rule of law, and that the only person who can answer that all these things is one person, one William Samoei Ruto, whom we gave the authority to protect the constitution and to protect us as a nation. So any other person is a backing dog to me. The only person we want him to answer our questions is.
Thank you, Josephine, for your submission. Thank you again. For those who are joining us now, we are still on the state of the nation. You're all welcome. We're having a critical discussion on the state of our nation, and we're honored to be joined by Wakili Willis along with incredible panel of thoughtful leaders. Their insight will help us guide our conversation on how we move forward. Your participation is important. We are all together in this. You can also put your comment on the chat session. And I want to thank Wakili Willis for his thoughtful submission, and building on that and on the critical issue of the economic and the debt. Building on that, let's transition to the next part of our discussion, focusing on health and education. We explore the funding models and the CBC, and Chief and Shah on the health and the abductions and all other issues that is ailing the state of our nation. Over to you, Hillary. Over to you, Neto, and then